Welcome to the Evangelical Eddie YouTube channel. I'm going to be breaking down a segment that CNN had on this topic. Yes, that same CNN that is fake news all these years. They've been having a rough time lately. They've had a lot of layoffs. They've lost a lot of viewers. So it doesn't surprise me they're looking for ways to bring up topics that can maybe get some interest from groups that have been turning them off, evangelicals included. So it's an interesting conversation. Again, I'm not a big fan of CNN, but this topic is good to discuss as Christians. So let's dive into it.
The former president's once close relationship with white evangelicals, a bedrock of his 2016 rise through the primaries into the presidency, appears to be fraying. On Monday, he spoke in a conservative broadcast, lashed out at evangelical leaders for not already endorsing his latest bid for the White House.
That's a sign of disloyalty. There's great disloyalty in the world of politics, and that's a sign of disloyalty because nobody, as you know, and you would know better than anybody because you do such a great job, nobody has ever done more for right to life than Donald Trump.
Okay, a couple things here right off the bat. First of all, I am a white evangelical. Two, I don't like that label. I'm not real comfortable that white evangelicals are now a subset or thought of as a voting bloc. This doesn't feel right. Our kingdom is not of this world, and we just happen to also be interested in politics for a couple reasons. But one of them, for sure, is the pro-life issues. There's no doubt about it that Trump appointed 3 pro-life Supreme Court justices, and it tipped the scales with Roe v. Wade across the land. So we're grateful for that, no doubt about it. And there's no doubt that he was the most pro-life president we've had in years. But that's not the real issue here at this point. And we have to admit that many of us evangelicals voted for Trump not because of his character, not because of his personality, not because we necessarily even believed he might be a Christian or anything like that, but purely based off his policies, especially compared to Hillary Clinton and now Joe Biden. So it wasn't much of a decision on our part for most of us, not speaking for everyone. But anyway, just wanted to put that out there first, that I am appreciative to Donald Trump for what he did for pro-life causes when it comes to the Supreme Court. The other issue, though, that does bother me about his comment is loyalty, that somehow he can snap his fingers and we have to be loyal to any president. Again, our kingdom is not of this world. We're loyal to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We're loyal to our brethren and each other. But we're not loyal to some presidential candidate. I don't care who they are. So that comment by him really rubbed me the wrong way. And even though, again, I'm not a fan of CNN, they did recognize that that was not going to sit well with evangelicals. Let's continue on.
During that same interview, he also appeared to deflect the blame that he and his handpicked candidates received for Republicans' underwhelming performance in the midterm, saying that evangelicals could have, quote, fought much harder. Joined now by our chief correspondent and CNN This Morning co-anchor, Caitlin Collins, and our chief national affairs analyst, Casey Hunt. What do you think of this? First of all, does it make sense that he would go on records kind of criticizing evangelicals for not being loyal enough?
It seems almost natural that it's an instinct of his if someone brings up, well, so-and-so hasn't endorsed you yet, or so-and-so has criticized you, that is kind of his, automatic response. It's kind of a reaction for him. For this, though, it's so notable because that was such a key block for him in 2016. They helped him also in 2020. Evangelical voters helped put Trump in the White House. And so I was talking to several of his former advisors about this, and they were saying they just view it as kind of self-defeating. And they're not totally surprised by it because it comes as he is having these broader fears about what the 2024 field is going to look like. He doesn't like the idea that anyone is challenging him, but to hear him go after them, and also to say that they didn't fight hard enough in the 2022 midterm election, saying that basically once the Supreme Court had overturned Roe versus Wade, which is obviously something that motivated them to go to the polls for so long, people that I was speaking to, they were just saying it's self-defeating for him to go after that group that helped him so much after the one win, which is why they said they put him in the White House to appoint conservative judges.
Casey, I mean, he did deliver for evangelical voters, whether he truly believed in what he was doing or not. He did deliver what he had said he would, which many other politicians, Republicans, had promised to evangelical voters over the years in presidential races and not actually delivered on.
Ugh, I just hate agreeing with Anderson Cooper. I'm going to need to take a shower after making this video. But it's It's true. There were we've been hearing it for years. Heard it from Reagan, we heard it from Bush, we heard it, through the years from Republican leaders that they would overturn Roe versus Wade, and they never did. Trump did. So he's got a point there. Trump accomplished something none of the others did. Of course, it helps to be able to appoint judges to do that, and that's what happened, obviously. But still, point taken.
But it was always sort of a marriage of convenience. I mean, when you have Mike Pence running for president, even, it's obvious that why a lot of evangelicals, if he could win, would probably prefer him.
Yeah, and Anderson, forgive me, I lost you there for a second, so I may not have gotten your full question, but I was listening to what Caitlin was saying earlier, and I think the reality here is that this is politics is not the mob, right? It's not all about loyalty; it's about winning. And evangelical leaders, in particular, saw that Trump lost the 2020 election, and now they have other choices. And none of them want to get on board with a losing train before they actually see, what their options are here. So I think that helps kind of explain the actions of a lot of these leaders.
Yeah, let's talk about Mike Pence for a second. So, obviously, many of us evangelicals liked the idea, many of us Christians, that Mike Pence was his vice president because at least we saw a definite Christian presence in the top of his administration. And, Mike Pence said and did all the things that seemed to be clear that the man had received salvation from Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. So we felt comfortable with him. Now, the January 6th thing, I know, and the vote and all that turned off the Trump base heavily on Mike Pence. So, in my opinion, Mike Pence really doesn't have a block of voters, if you want to use that term here, that he can even win the presidency. So, I don't know why he's wasting his time, to be quite honest. He is not a viable candidate as an alternative to Trump. Now, Ron DeSantis, I'd like to learn more about him. And so what she's saying that a lot of evangelicals are holding off to see who else is running, she's right again. Again, hate to keep saying CNN is right, but I'm doing the same thing as an evangelical Christian. I want to see and hear more from Ron DeSantis and see if he carries all the Trump policies that we liked so much about Trump and caused us to vote for Trump, or if he's going to, or if we're going to learn more. And the other thing, let's be honest, Ron DeSantis has a filter that Trump doesn't have, for better or for worse. And I think Ron DeSantis has more appeal to independents these days than Trump does these days. Trump had a heavy appeal to independents during his first run in 2016. He did not capture them in 2020, and I don't believe he has the independent vote today. So we'll see how things go. But anyway, moving on.
And Caitlin's right. I mean, this was an important block for Trump. It's an important block for any conservative candidate. I mean, he worked really hard putting out a letter saying, I'll nominate these judges if you elect me. He did a lot of things to make sure that he had trust from that group. But the reality is that, I think that trust was broken when he lost. And they know that it's unlikely that he potentially is going to win the White House again, or that he could potentially be the toughest horse to get behind here.
Caitlin, I interviewed Bart Barber, the president of the Southern Baptist Convention, a while back for a 60 Minutes profile. And he's a very earnest, straightforward guy, not a mega church pastor, head of now the largest evangelical organization. He clearly has said that he would back Pence in a primary. He would have no problem. And, obviously in a general, he was saying, well, let's see who the other candidates are. But the fact that there are, to Casey's point, the fact there are other Republicans in the race whose morality not only support the same policies that Trump supported, but whose morality is not as questionable as Trump's, it's understandable why some evangelical leaders would be hoping that those would rise.
Okay, regarding this morality comment here about Pence and Trump, to committed Christians, this is an important topic, and that is Pence would never have a meeting with another woman without his wife present or someone else present. He was very strong, or is very strong, at not at guarding himself against falling into sin or sexual sin or temptation. Then you got Trump with the whole Stormy Daniels stuff, and I'm not going to get into all that here, but the point is there is a difference in these men and the way they approach marriage, and their relationship with Christ in relation to their marriage. So that's what they're sort of touching on here. And as an evangelical, I have to agree that is a difference between Pence and Trump when it comes to personal morality, at least from what we can see from the outside.
If a Tim Scott gets in the race, you could see who their preferred candidate would be. Obviously, not the guy who said, 2 Corinthians was one of his favorite books of the Bible.
Or he's never asked for forgiveness.
Or that he's never asked for forgiveness.
Because you used the word Christian. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person. Shockingly, because people are so shocked when they find this out, I'm Protestant. I'm Presbyterian.
But have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't. Now, when I take, when we go in church and when I drink my little wine, which is about the only wine I drink, and have my little cracker, I guess that's a form of asking for forgiveness. And I do that as often as possible because I feel cleansed, okay?
I always thought Trump's answer to this question was very sketchy. He claims to be Protestant, yet he seems to take a more Catholic view of the sacramental aspect of communion and the Eucharist and the forgiveness connection there, compared to evangelicals who view the Lord's Supper as a memorial of Christ's death and sacrifice for us, but it's not necessarily a cleansing in a sacramental way that he's describing here. So, it's hard to argue with CNN here because we've got Trump's own words on not asking for forgiveness from God. What Christian who's given his life to the Lord would honestly say they never asked for forgiveness? I mean, we now have access to forgiveness to the Father through the Son. So it's a strange answer he gave there.
But, to me, that's important. I do that. But in terms of officially, I could say absolutely, and everybody. I don't think in terms of that. I think in terms of let's go on and let's make it right.
So again, you've gone into it. If I don't ask this question, this audience will be disappointed. Straight question. What is your relationship with God?
Well, I pray. I go to church. Do I do things that are wrong? I guess so. I'm a business person. I really do well at business. I've done great. I've made some of the great deals. I own some of the greatest properties in the world. Am I
God
totally?
help you do these great deals?
I think God helped me. Personally, I think God helped me.
Right, it is a marriage of convenience in the sense that they knew that he would do what they wanted, which is appoint conservative judges to the Supreme Court who would overturn Roe versus Wade. There's another whole fascinating layer to that, given Trump's feud with Mitch McConnell over this, and Mitch McConnell was the one who was a key person in that. But I think that it's clear that that is why they're looking at it this way. And it's not just that pastor as well, but look at John Robinson, who said, he was critical of Trump in the fall, saying that he was kind of like an elementary school kid, that he would try to give him this advice and tell him to stop tweeting, stop talking and shooting from the hip, and he would continue to do so. You've seen Robert Jeffress, who said, I'm going to support whoever the nominee is. He'll support Trump if he's the nominee, but making clear he doesn't think he'll necessarily get involved. And others are making a play for that. Ron DeSantis' campaign ad, where they were saying God needed a fighter, a protector, and so essentially he made Ron DeSantis. They are going for that group.
So when I first saw this clip, that was the first I had heard that Ron DeSantis was, quote, going after this group, or that he had some sort of ad where he was reaching out to evangelicals and Christians. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, if DeSantis is running for 2024, he recognizes the importance of the Christian vote in the Republican Party, and it sounds like he may be already gearing up for that. So again, a lot of challenges going on for Christians to decide how to go about voting in 2024. But let's wrap this up.
Right. And Casey, Mike Pence has a book tour based in evangelical churches around the country.
Yeah, he sure does. And he's, a very natural candidate for this group. This has been kind of his rock solid block for his entire political career. Now, that said, I think there are a lot of questions across the board about what Pence's constituency is, considering where he stands with Donald Trump. And, one question I have, we're talking a lot about evangelical leaders. There have been, leaders who have found that their flock doesn't necessarily follow them on things like this. And, I'd be interested to see if many of these congregations don't still harbor a lot of people that actually support Donald Trump, and the leaders might find that they're under pressure from them. I think it's going to be my question as we head into the campaign season.
I talked to some Trump advisors about this after this happened, because that was a key block that helped deliver the White House to Trump. He promised to appoint conservative judges. That's what they wanted. They said they believe this is just a self-defeating issue for Trump.
Yeah, this is an own goal, but I think he blurted out what he really believes. Remember, loyalty with Donald Trump is famously a one-way street. But to your point, a higher percent of evangelicals, white evangelicals, we should say, voted for Donald Trump than voted for George W. Bush, who was actually a born-again Christian. So for him to just basically lash out at the evangelical leaders who are pumping the brakes onto Trump 2024 and say they're being disloyal, what does he think they are, his pets, that they can be called to heel?
So I'll say this for the last painful time for me. I agree with CNN on this. Trump treating us like pets, being called to heel, that's kind of what it feels like. That's what it felt like to me when I first heard about Trump's comments. You don't automatically get our vote because we're supposed to be loyal. You get our vote because you inspire us to want to see the country change for the better with your policies and your approach. And, a big part of his attraction the first time is he was an outsider. America first, especially with the border crisis still ongoing. Biden has proved to us that Democrats cannot be trusted with that border issue. It just continues to get worse. And that's with Title 42 in place. So who knows where that's going. But my point is, in all of this, is for some odd reason, CNN is actually having a, in my opinion, pretty valid perspective on the relationship currently between former President Donald Trump and the evangelicals in the U.S. And so my question to you is, what do you think? I've shared a lot of my thoughts here. I'd like to read in your comments below what your thoughts are, because I'm sort of curious on the pulse of Christians today with the 2024 election coming. I mean, if it was Trump versus Biden, I can't imagine doing anything but voting for Trump at that point. But in the primaries, if you've got Trump versus DeSantis versus Pence versus a number of other candidates, kind of curious where everyone might be thinking they might lean as we go through the primary season. So thanks for listening and making it this far in the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had some thoughts triggered on the intersection here of politics and faith. And looking forward to your comments below. Have a blessed day.